A Roadside Stand by Robert Frost. The little old house was out with a little new shed in front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread, but for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering fate. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead, or if ever aside, a moment, then out of sorts, at having the landscape marked with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wooden quarts, or the crook-necked golden squash with silver warts, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money and go along? The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint, so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving pictures promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to suit them out of their wits. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night, the ancient way. Sometimes I feel I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain, the sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. And one did stop, but only to plow up grass in using the yard to back and turn around. And another to ask the way to where it was bound. And another to ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? They couldn't. They had none. Didn't it see? No, in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of a spirit has never been found. Or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain, and then next day as I come back into the same, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. Robert Frost throws light on the plight and sufferings of the poor villagers who have erected a small shop, a roadside stand, by the side of a highway where the traffic moves at a high speed. The expectations of the villagers are that the city people would stop their vehicles there, they would buy something from their roadside stand, and that is how they would be able to feel some city money in their hand, and they would be able to live a joyous and happy life. So here we go with the explanation of the poem. The little old house was out with a little new shed. That is, by the side of a highway, by the side of a road, there was a house, and at a little distance from that house, exactly by the side of the road, at the edge of the road, there was a small shop, a roadside stand. So the little outhouse was out, means located at a little distance from an old house, was a new shop, a roadside stand built very close to the road, in front of the edge of the road, that is very close to the road, where the traffic sped, where the traffic moved at a high speed. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. The roadside stand is a symbol of the request, the plea that the villagers are making to the city people. Now, what is the plea that the villagers are making to the city people through the symbol of this roadside stand? The poet says, it would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. The poet says that the villagers are not requesting the city people to give them alms. It is not begging for a dole of bread, for a piece of bread. It is not begging before the city people. It is not begging. It is only requesting that they should stop their cars for a while, buy something. Okay, they will pay something to the villagers, to the peasants, the farmers who have made that roadside stand, and they will receive something in return of their money. So the roadside stand is not begging for alms. It is not begging for a dole of bread. It is a symbol of the villagers' plea to the city people to stop their cars and buy something from the shop. But for some of the money, the cash, it is because the villagers have a strong desire to feel some city money in their heads. Look at this. But for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering fade. That is, they want to have that money in their hands, which makes the city life magnificent and glorious. There is a lot of money in city life. There is opportunity, there is development, there is success, growth and prosperity. In city life, there is a lot of joy and happiness. So it is the money that fills the city life with joy and happiness, and because their lives, they are poverty-stricken people, and their lives are full of sadness, misery and pains, they want to feel some city money so that they can also add some joy and happiness to their lives. So they want to feel that money, the flower of cities from withering fade. The flower of cities is the city life. So the money which protects the flower of cities from withering fade, that is the money that keeps the flower of cities blooming beautifully, that is the money that keeps the city life magnificent and glorious. They want to have some part of that money in their hands. But their plea is not heeded to by the selfish city people. The polished traffic passed with the mind ahead. The polished traffic refers to the people who are traveling in their cars on the road. The polished traffic, polished means the city people are supposed to be educated, civilized and cultured. That is, they have polished personalities because of their education, because of their culture and because of their money. So that is why it is called polished traffic. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead. Now look at the attitude which the city people have towards these poor villagers. They have a very sensitive and cruel attitude towards them. They do not even look aside. They do not even throw a casual passing glance at the roadside stand. Their minds are fixed ahead. They are traveling with their minds ahead. That is, either they are thinking about the destination where they have to reach, or their minds are occupied with the idea of their future plans as to how they can multiply their fortune and earn more money. So they are thinking only about themselves. They have no thoughts of the poor villagers in their minds. So the polished traffic passed with the mind ahead without paying any attention to the roadside stand. Or if ever aside, they don't even look at the roadside stand, and by chance sometimes, if their glance moves towards the roadside stand, moves aside and looks at the roadside stand, then what happens? Then out of sorts, they feel irritated. They get irritated and angry. Out of sorts means they become irritated. So then what is irritating there? Look at this. At having the landscape marked with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong. So they feel irritated because the roadside stand there is spoiling the beauty of the landscape there. And there is a signboard there with arrows pointing towards north and south. There are letters written N and S on the signboard. Now those letters N and S have been painted very roughly. They're not painted beautifully on the signboard. The letters have been written on the signboard in the paint very roughly, and moreover it's been turned and the arrows are pointing in wrong direction. So at this they feel irritated, and they look at the roadside stand also, which they believe is spoiling the natural beauty of the landscape. So, or if ever aside, then out of sorts at having the landscape marked with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale white berries. You know, that roadside stand which arranged some white berries for sale there in wooden containers. Or crook means crook-necked golden squash. That's a fruit. Which has a twisted neck sort of a shape, and it has silver warts on it. So that is what the roadside stand offered for sale. Or sometimes when they throw a glance aside, it is for, look at this, or the beauty rests in a beautiful mountain scene. That is, they wish to enjoy the beauty of the mountains located at a distance. So they observe the beauty of the mountains, and they have no feelings towards the poor villagers who have made that roadside stand there. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, that is, you do not want to share your money with the poor villagers, and you want to be selfish, then why keep your money? All right, then keep your money and go along and go away from here. The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint. That is the damage that the roadside stand is causing to the natural landscape there, the beauty of the natural landscape there, the damage which the roadside stand is causing to the natural beauty of the landscape there. The poet says the poet has no objection with that. The poet has no objection with the roadside stand spoiling the beauty of the natural landscape there. So much they are hurt. He's feeling bad on something else. On what? So much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. The roadside stand is a symbol of the trust of the villagers on the city people that they would stop their vehicles and buy something. And their condition is sorrowful because they are leading poverty-stricken lives. So in their poverty, they have a trust that the city people would stop their cars and buy something from the roadside stand. So that their poverty and their expectations from the city people remain unexpressed in vocal terms. They express this trust and their poverty with the symbol of the roadside stand. They are poor, that's why they have made the roadside stand, and they have a trust in the city people that they would stop their vehicles and buy something. With that trust, they have made that roadside stand there. So the poet feels very bad on this attitude of the city people, the selfish attitude of the city people who do not even throw a casual glance at the roadside stand. So he said, here far from the city we make our roadside stand. Far away from the city, by the side of the road, the poor villagers have made that shop and asked for some city money to feel in hand. It is because they want to feel some city money. There is some money in the village also, but the village money, the poet says, does not have the ability to bring joy and happiness into their lives. So they want to feel some city money, because city money has the power to bring joy and happiness into the lives of the people. Why? Because it is big in size. So here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand. And we want to see if even the city money will not improve the quality of our life. We want to see if even the city money will not bring some joy and happiness into our lives, because the village money has failed already. Now we want to try the city money and give us the life of the moving pictures promise, and we're going to see if this money can bring us the glorious, happy and joyous life which we see in the moving pictures, or the promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. Or, at the time of election, the political parties, promise the people that poverty would be eradicated. But such promises are hardly ever heeded to by the people in power, by the parties in power. Now, it is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. That is, it is in the news, it is being heard that some industrialists, some rich people would buy the land properties of these poor villagers to establish their industries on their plots and to shift these poor farmers to the village where there is a market, where there is a store, where there is a theatre. So they would be shifted there where there is a market, and they would have good amount of money in their hands. They will not have to think about their future. They will not have to worry about their future. So it is in the news that all these pitiful kins, pitiful. Why pitiful? And who are these kins? Kins means relatives. Who are these relatives? The pitiful kins are the poor villagers. And what is the relationship with them? What is the kinship among them? The kinship, the relationship of poverty. So it refers to the poor villagers. So it is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore, where they will not have to worry about their future anymore. While greedy good doers, while these industrialists, they've been referred to as greedy good doers. They are actually greedy, but they pretend to be good doers. Beneficent beasts of prey. Beneficent, willing to bring well-being, willing to ensure well-being of all. So they pretend to be beneficent, but actually they are beasts of prey. That is, they flourish and multiply their own fortune at the cost of the poor villagers. They buy their land properties, establish their industries there. They get cheap labor, exemption from taxes because it falls in the rural sector, and that is how they multiply their own fortune. And they negotiate with the farmers in such a way that the farmers are unable to think what is right and what is wrong for them. They sell their land properties expecting that the entire transaction is being made for their benefit. So they sell their land properties to these industries. They become dependent upon them after that. The poet says, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to suit them out of their wits. That is, the villagers, after having sold their land properties, they become dependent upon these rich people. The rich people take control over their lives and enforce benefits, give them benefits which are very tactfully calculated to make them lose their mind and take a wrong decision of selling their land properties to them. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night, the ancient way. These rich people, their industries function round the clock, and the ancient way of working in the daytime, working hard in the daytime, and having a restful sleep in the night gets destroyed. They lose their natural, healthy way of living. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. The poet, when he looks at the poor villagers and finds them full of longing and desire that they would feel some city money in their hands, they will have some joy and happiness into their lives, they would be able to lead good quality lives. This childish longing, this is referred to as childish longing because the poet can see the negative, casual attitude, unconcerned attitude of the city people towards the villagers. So this longing is childish because it is not going to be fulfilled because of the casual attitude of the city people. So he says it is very painful to see this childish longing in the heart of these poor villagers. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. The sadness that lurks near the open window there. Which window it is? Is it? Which window is it? It's the open window of the shop. And there is a man sitting behind that shop, ready to sell all these things from the shop. So the man is looking sad. There is sadness lurking around the roadside stand because the people do not stop there. They do not buy anything from the shop. So there is a sadness. There is a sad atmosphere all around that shop. And that person sitting behind the window that waits all day in almost open prayer. That man, prays God all the time. What does he pray God for? He wants to hear the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car. Okay, so he prays God so that he could hear the sound of a stopping car, the squeal of brakes, but his prayers go unanswered. Then, so he prays for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the 1,000 selfish cars that pass. The example of poetic device here is transferred epithet. Transferred selfish cars. It's not the cars which are selfish, actually it is the people traveling in the cars who are selfish. So it is a transferred, it is an example of transferred epithet here. So for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the 1,000 selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. That farmer sitting behind the window, praise God, let at least one car stop, at least to ask the rates here at the shop. And then what happens, one did stop, one car stopped. Wow, that was good. But only to plow up grass, in using the yard to back and turn around. It stopped not to buy anything from the shop. It just wanted to go back in the opposite direction. So it used the empty space where there was grass there. It not only spoiled the grass, it turned around and went away without buying anything. And another car stopped to ask the way to where it was bound, to ask for the direction, the right direction to travel further. And one more car stopped finally, to ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? It was out of fuel. They wanted some fuel from the roadside stand. They couldn't, but the farmers, sitting there couldn't sell any gas to these car owners because they had none. They had only some edibles there, offered for sale. So the poet is, a little angry here. They didn't see, that is the people in the car, couldn't they see that there was no gas available there, for the farmers to sell. Then in the final stanza, the poet says, no, in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. And that is why, because the village money is not capable of bringing joy and happiness into their lives. It is the city money which they expect to feel in their hands, so that it could bring some joy and happiness into their lives. It could improve the quality of their lives. Because the village money does not have that requisite spirit, that ability to lift the standard of their lives. This power is there only in the city money. Why? Because the city money is big in size. The size of money in the village is very small. The poet says, or so the voice of the country seems to complain. This is the complaint of the country people living in the villages. Okay, because the profit in villages is very small. That is, profit refers to money. So the money is very small, and they can hardly live happy and joyous lives with that meager amount of money which they earn in the villages. or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. The poet, makes an impractical wish here. The poet has an impractical desire here. He wishes that the poverty of all these poor farmers could be ended at one stroke somehow. But then he realizes that this is impractical, this is not possible. And then next day, as I come back into the same, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. So he says, if somebody could come to me and tell me that the poverty of these people has ended, they have money in their hands, in their pockets, and they are leading happy lives. If somebody goes and tells the poet this, it would be great relief. It would be like putting the poet, Robert Frost, gently out of his pain.